In terms of information, now your primary source might be your TV, your cable system, whatever it is. You have satellite TV, any of the other systems to hear information. You're watching your news, you know, and you're getting what's going on in the world. And that's your primary. Your alternate, okay, maybe your computer. And you're getting information off the computer, your phone, listening to the internet, surfing the web. Now, if that goes down, what's next? Well, you may go down to one of these weather storm radios with the batteries. It's got a cranker to keep power going. It's also got a solar, you know, it's got a solar disc on here so it can keep power coming to it. You can charge it in the sun. Comes with a flashlight. These storm weather radios are great. It's got AM, FM, it's got wideband, it's got everything you want on the radio. Get information about weather, about what's going on in the world. In a lot of cases, when the world maybe flips and goes to hell in a handbasket, there'll be these little radio stations all over the place that are getting information out to you what's going on. So, key item. Once all that's down, you know, also with the radio is the ham radio, the CB, everybody's sharing information. And then you get to your emergency part. Now this is part of it. Now, what I have here is I've got my cell phone and I've got an adapter, right? And it's got a UB adapter. It can plug into whatever type phone you have, whether it's a smartphone, make sure you get the right end, or an iPhone. And what I can do is I can have over 10,000 manuals on this thumb drive, and I plug this in here, plug it on my phone. I've got access to all this information. Really cool device. But when that's gone, right, when everything's fried electronically or whatever, there's no substitute, all right, for good old-fashioned books, all right? I got all these great survival manuals on my shelf. I carry these in my vehicle. They have all the information. If I've got to start bugging out or whatever, even in my home, there's a lot of great hacks in here that I can use for my situation. And then there's all kinds of other reference manuals out there. Now, most survival manuals, a lot of them cover a lot of the same information, but what I found is some of them will have like 2 or 3 things you didn't know before, or 3 or 4 things like that. When I see that, along with great magazines, I mean, how many can you keep, right? So I keep a few key ones with me, but there's a lot of great survival off-grid magazines. And what I do is I find information that's really good. And what I'll do is I'll get a loose leaf binder, and then I categorize it: shelter, food, water, communication, whatever the category is. If I find a magazine article I really like, I'll cut it out, I'll laminate it, and I'll throw it in this binder. So I've got a wealth of other information instead of hauling a whole bunch of magazines. And I'll even do it with books. All right, if I find like this page right here, so, oh, that's really, I need that. I'll cut it out and I'll make it to the right size page here, and I'll put it in my loose leaf. And I've got actually, like, I've already, in all my years of doing this, I've got 3 of these filled up now. And it's just great information, great references. This manual right here by David Scott Donnellan, it's about tracking. He's one of the best known trackers out there in the world. There's a lot of good ones out there. I got into tracking because of Tom Brown, and then I ran into him. And I wouldn't have done that if I didn't start looking up tracking manuals. But tracking is a good thing to understand, not just for hunting and animals, but if people are walking outside your house, you'll have critical information on the ground. When you understand how to track, it works on your situation awareness, and then you notice other things around that are going on that aren't right. These are great little, you got all these little great pamphlets out there that talk about wild edibles, mushrooms, trees, a huge source of information with pictures and everything, and they're waterproof because they got this laminating on it. And again, we talked about animal tracks. I've got these 2. I've got a pocket guide on animal tracks, and then reptiles, amphibians, there's mammals. I've got all these little books here to talk about all the different characteristics. And then I've got this one, which is really key. When I was in the Army and I went to Pathfinder school, I really learned how to read clouds, started learning about the weather, which was critical for military operations. It's also critical in a survival situation. I got a little weather pocket guide right there. And then, of course, I've got a notebook here that I have in the field from things I've been doing over the years. And I've got a few of these that are stacked up with just critical notes of things I've learned while out in the wilderness, and I've written down, from trial and error. And it's a good reference. And when I go to the field, I'll take a small little notebook. I'll write down notes about things that might be important to remember, and I'll come back and I'll put them in the bigger book. So there you have it. What to do about different power sources, communications, and information. And all this stuff is very key when you're in a bug-in situation.